Joining me now, Stephen K. Bannon, the host of the most popular radio show in America, which is War Room Pandemic, heard 10 to noon on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Monday through Saturday. Steve, also on America Voice News Video. That's Channel 219 on the Dish Network. And he's also on 11 p.m. to midnight on Newsmax. So all of my favorite channels he's on, and he's with us now. He was on Tucker Carlson last night. Steve, great to have you back.
John, the prayers for you and your family, for your mom. She had a great run and gave birth to an oracle. So not a bad life. So
that's right.
Anyway,
now, how old is Marty Bannon in Richmond?
Marty Bannon turned 99 yesterday. And listen,
did you go
and listen,
visit?
And listen, yeah, and I'm going back down today, and for the weekend too. So it's, but he listens to your show religiously, and you're right. I get him the iPad, you get all stuff. Say, no, Dad's got the video and America's Voice, and you can see everything. And the Chinese guys coming on. He says, no, he got the old radio right there, and just just punched in. So. No, he can understand Miles Guo. That's my test. If we can understand our Chinese guest that we have in the weekend special. He listens to the radio. He gives me detailed notes. So anyway, it's but our prayers are for you and the family and for your mom.
Well, thank you, Steve. Thank you. Hey, I saw you on Tucker last night. I thought you were fantastic. Tucker, obviously he had to restrain certain things because of the Fox lawyers, but that was your first major national appearance. Since then, you were feisty as always. But one thing you said to the audience last night is that, look, you had Dr. Yan on. Now you got Facebook, and you've got Twitter, and you've got YouTube, and everybody banning what she said so you can't get to it. Expand on that.
Yeah, not just banning what she said. This is important. Okay, so this is like bloody Kansas to the Civil War. Dr. Yan was a very good test of exactly what's going to happen. You have three convergent forces that are coming together by the progressive left and the billionaire party of Davos class to essentially steal the election from the deplorables and from the Trump movement and from President Trump. President Trump's going to win the game day vote, the only vote that matters, right? That's the November 3rd vote. And the reason is that because we were the first show on pandemic, because our detailed knowledge of China back in mid-January, we were months ahead of the mainstream media. One thing that became very evident to me is that, and we have difference of opinion on the show. The pandemic's very serious, but how do you solve for it? What you do? And I realize you, John, are in the Jack Maxey crowd. I'm a little more, I think, to that we got to really think this thing through in detail. However, I saw one thing that the media and the Democratic Party was doing. It was traumatizing their base. They have a massive problem. They have so traumatized parts of the Democratic Party that they just don't want to come out of their house. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to socialize, and they particularly don't want to go vote. So they know for a couple of months they have a massive problem, and that problem is they cannot get people out to compete to beat Donald Trump on Election Day. The traditional way we voted for over 200 years, right, which is a secret ballot, a real ballot, secret ballot.
Right.
So,
right.
And to do this, they've come up with this plan, a very detailed plan, to steal the election and to install an illegitimate government headed by the cipher, Joe Biden, right? It's really the Obama restoration. And the three convergent forces, one is a massive legal operation. In fact, they've stolen our name and call it a war room that they've announced in the New York Times on Monday, with Eric Holder, right, the Attorney General running it, a bunch of corporate lawyers from his Covington and Burley, his law firm, another major law firm retained, former U.S. attorneys, former solicitor generals. I mean, all the left-wing Soros-backed apparatus, right? That's part of it. The other is the street mob, the radical elements of BLM, Antifa, which they're in all these reports they've done, the Transition Terry report, said they're going to flood the streets with civil disobedience. The most powerful weapon, it's not the legal muscle and the street muscle, which are very, very powerful. The most powerful muscle they got is the information warfare of the media. And there they intend to, and they're already talking about, Twitter's coming up with rules, Facebook's coming up with rules, to not declare Donald Trump the victor on Tuesday, the 3rd of November. And they continue to say you have to count all the votes. You have to have, a month. It's not election day, it's election month, right? Not election week, it's election month. They want to go and count until they get a victory. They want to go find, as many of these illegitimate ballots as they can with no chain of custody until they can beat Trump in some sort of recount or kick it to the House of Representatives and let Nancy Pelosi do her thing in January. So that is why it's absolutely important. We're kicking off a national tour on Monday. I've already given this presentation a number of times. We're kicking off a national tour in New York City at Teddy Roosevelt's New York Young Republicans Club in Midtown Manhattan. We're going to kick off a national tour. And by the way, a lot of this may be digitally. So if you're in any part of the country, we'll be able to do this. And we'll give you a full briefing on exactly what is the plot to steal 2020. And everybody, every Trump person, every person in the Trump movement need to be aware of this and start to activate. You know, number one, this election is about mobilization. So part one is you must get out everybody you know. You must get them registered. You must get, by the way, these things, Keep America, all these different operations. You had the advertisement on for American Majority beforehand. These get out the vote operations are actually spectacular. They're necessary. Everybody in the audience is going to put their shoulder to the wheel, put the golf clubs up, put the hobbies away, cut off NFL football, stop watching the NBA. All you should think about between now and November 3rd is how can you possibly get as many people as you know to vote and or influence as many people to vote. But that's only part of it. We've got like 5 months here. The only thing that matters at the end of the day is Donald Trump raising his hand at high noon on the 20th of January, the year of our Lord 2021, and taking the oath of office. And that's going to require a massive coordination effort. And quite frankly, people maybe have to go protest in the streets so to counter this kind of mob that they're going to bring up. So look, there's a lot of work to do, but where everybody's aware of, we have tracked this now for months, understanding they had a logistics problem. And the problem is they caused mass hysteria. And particularly for the people, you know, your show, our show, other shows, you know, it kind of walk through what the risks were, right? Database, science-based, evidence-based of this pandemic and how to work around it. What they've done is traumatize. They've traumatized their own voters. And so now they have to go to basically any means necessary to defeat Donald Trump and really and to install an illegitimate government under Joe Biden.
This is the second or third time now we've had you on talking about this. We had Raheem Kassam on the other day who said that somebody was going to call for a voter electoral commission to oversee this, and that's exactly what happened with Dan Coates the other day in the New York Times. But I just want to get this straight, Steve.
I want to hang on before I do that. This is how well we've thought this thing through. Right.
Yes.
We have deconstructed this entire thing. Raheem went up the other day, I think almost a week ago, and said, look, here's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to, the establishment is going to try to say, oh, we should have a commission right away, just like in Europe, which will take all the power out of the voters' hands. Voila. Dan Coates, who's the liar, who's lied in this Atlantic article to try to get the military to flip or be neutral on Trump. This Atlantic article that alluded to the Woodward book and his thing in the Woodward book where he says, you know, Mattis is up there lighting candles at National Cathedral and praying and talking about a military coup. We might have to collective action. Dan Coates, who has not come forward and denied that. So to me, he's part of what was a potential coup, which I talked about over a year ago on Showtime's The Circus about this, you know, this problem of a military coup. That you had, and now Dan Coates is up to it. He came out yesterday and said, hey, I think we got to have an electoral commission. I want to be on it, et cetera. So we're pretty good about calling the shots, about telling people what the next event in this fiasco is going to be.
I mean, you guys have been ahead of this thing, and you're mapping it out. That's why it's so critical to have you on my shows and others. But basically, just to lay this out, is what you're saying is three things. There's not going to be a declared winner. Trump is going to likely roll up a significant majority on election night, which, as you call, game on day. That's game day. So maybe he's got 440 electoral votes. And then every day, the mail votes come in that haven't been counted. The majorities in these states go down until finally they found, 30,000 voters in a box someplace. And they're like, okay, every vote's got to be counted. Everybody matters. And then the states flip, and then the Democratic state secretary certifies it. Along with that, you're saying they're going to have street mobs, riots every day demanding that Biden be the winner, and then there's going to be the information war.
I just want to make sure something. It's not us saying this. We're highlighting this. They had this radical professor at Georgetown, where I went, named Rosa Woods, who put this thing called the Transition Integrity Project together. They've been wargaming this for a long time. The three big elements are lawfare, the legal element, basically go in and do all the lawsuits. There's already 200 lawsuits out there right now already, right? And they've got 800 lawyers, and these are the top lawyers. These are not schmendricks, right? These are top lawyers, okay? And the New York Times had it the other day. Huge, huge effort. Tons of money, big law firms retained, all that. That's the legal part, to go in and start dropping lawsuits everywhere, right, for the hanging chads and all that. The second part of it is an information warfare part, and that is both media. The Vanity Fair story from 2 days ago said that Biden campaign officials have already been meeting with senior media executives about the rules for not calling it on Election Day. To me, this is collusion. I think Ronna McDaniel, who I think does a terrific job at the RNC, she should walk in today and file a massive lawsuit at the FEC about collusion. Companies can't have payments in kind. I know people think the CNN, town hall with Biden last night was payment in kind. It was softball. The ABC ambush the other day of President Trump was a payment in kind. But these media companies are now, and Facebook and Twitter, are working in collusion with the Biden campaign. They should be sued immediately for federal elections violations. Okay? So you got this information part of what they're going to do is not just not declare. They're not going to declare Trump the winner. They're also going to be tearing down social media. They're going to do what they did to Dr. Yan. Here's why Dr. Yan is so important. She started a Twitter account on Monday. I think it went to 59,000 Twitter followers by Monday night. She was all Tucker will tell you his show, which is massive in itself, was blowing up on Facebook as they put up her interview globally, first time globally, all over the world. People want to see this Dr. Yan and Tucker Carlson on Facebook. Twitter rips her down, saying it's fake news, and then Facebook takes it down, saying our three-man committee looked at it, it's fake news. They didn't stop the Chinese Communist Party from beating her up 24 hours a day. The Global Times, the Wu Mao 50 Cent Army, all their running dogs. So what they did is they took away her ability to talk and communicate to citizens and their judgment. And remember, they're supposed to be agnostic platforms. What they become is publishers. These content teams that you never see behind the screen are all never Trump, Democratic, progressive, left-wing activists, okay? And that's what's sitting there. They're questioning President Trump. They don't question Xi. Right now, you go to Twitter, once a day, they're taking his thing down or putting some content thing about how he's lying, right? According to them, he's lying. Yet they don't take down Xi. They don't take down the rest of the dictators. Don't take anything in the Chinese Communist Party. This is what's in store for you come Election Day. Remember, the elites in this country, Wall Street, the corporations, you look at Tom Friedman. They want the model China has. They're already seeing it. You say it in the New York Times all the time. Look how China's come through this pandemic. Look how terrible Trump's done. What they want is a combination of state capitalism and authoritarian rule. That's the model. They want the Chinese model, okay? And that's why they're prepared to play Smash Mouth on November 3rd. They don't care what they have to do. They will rip up the Constitution to steal this election and install an illegitimate any Biden victory will be illegitimate, okay? Because they know they can't win on Election Day. They can't win on Election Day. One, there's no enthusiasm for Biden, whether it's Hispanic males, African American males, any of their core constituents. There's no enthusiasm for Biden because it's a cipher, okay? But they've also traumatized through their own media manipulation. They've traumatized their own voters, so they can't win on game day, which is the only day that matters. That means they have to steal it later through intimidation in the streets, intimidation digitally, or intimidation in the courts. So those three aspects of intimidation, they're going to try to do anything they have to basically get past the Electoral College, the 14th, continue to have lawsuits, et cetera. Then when the electors don't meet on the 14th, it automatically kicks to the House of Representatives in January, and that depends on what Nancy Pelosi seats. Right now, we have a 26-23 with Pennsylvania being tied. Majority of the state delegations, but that depends on who gets seated January 6th. So strap in for this.
Okay,
one.
but right now we're up. Okay, so let's just Go to the states because this is a real scenario, folks. I mean, this is why we keep saying this. This is not InfoWars. This isn't.
Don't get afraid of the polling. Don't get afraid of polling. That's not the polling who's going to show up on game day and vote. Okay?
Right.
Remember, all these suppression polls, he's 15 points down in Wisconsin. He's 9 points down in Arizona. They don't show. Nonsense. Here's the key. Every Trump person must bring to the polls every person they can possibly find. Okay? Every person they possibly find. That's point one is win and win big on Election Day. In this transition project, they got so nervous about a Trump victory that they actually added a fifth scenario. This was by Bloomberg's Hawkfish, which is his data company, and they put it up on HBO Axios, which is, the super progressive left site, and HBO, which is hardcore left anti-Trump. They put the Hawkfish guy to say, hey, even if Trump is leading with 424 electoral votes on the evening of November 3rd, he will not be called the winner. They will not call it. Joe Biden will not concede because Hillary Clinton's already said, under no circumstances will you concede. No circumstances. And the Hawkfish guy said, even with 424 electoral votes, by Thanksgiving, Joe Biden will be the winner. Now, this is not Steve Bannon saying this. This is Rosa Woods. This is Axios.
But how do they do that? Walk us through. I got 3 minutes. How do they do that?
Right now, between we say 60 million, the president says 80 million mail-in votes. And you're just going to be voting by the pound, right? They got 60 to 80 million mail-in votes, and they're going to keep counting and keep suing until they get a victory, because you've got these mail-in votes. That's what President Trump. And look, I'm all for absentee ballots. I've used absentee ballots many, many times in my life, right? Absentee ballots. That's different than what's going on right now. This is voting by the pound. The Democratic Party, the progressive left, the billionaire class. Michael Bloomberg, who's Wang Xishan's best buddy, introduced him in Singapore as the most powerful guy in the world. By the way, Biden last night at his thing, we're going to play it today. He didn't call China. He called China, we compete with them. They're not an enemy. The Chinese Communist Party is not. Russia's an enemy, but China's not. This is what you've got. You got the CCPs infiltrated all these groups, got money everywhere. They own Wall Street. They own corporate America. And right now, they're trying to install an illegitimate puppet in Joe Biden, who's nothing but a useful idiot for the Chinese Communist Party. And right now, it's very simple. If the deplorables put their shoulder to the wheel, Donald Trump will not only win on the only day that matters, November 3rd, he will raise his hand, take the oath of office at noon on the 20th of January, 2021, and that's all that matters.
So how do you stop? So how do you stop? I've only got a minute.
You stop them by, first off, putting the spotlight on them and let these cockroaches start to run for cover. First off, you show them exactly what they're doing. We already know they're coming. Oh, you guys are too hard. We're getting death threats. Hey, tough luck. Tough break for swell guys. Right? I've gotten plenty of death threats. Right? Welcome to the National Football League. We're going to expose it all. I'm going on a national tour. It's going to be relentless. And the deplorables have to save the country.
Wow. Now, how can you go on a national tour without the John Fredericks Radio Network? How do you do that?
You're going to be my wingman. What are you talking about? You're going to be my wingman. I'm not going to go anywhere without you.
We're going on a national tour, man.
I'm not going to go anywhere without you.
You got to take Godzilla.
You got
to take Godzilla with you. It's a national tour.
The Oracle. We always take the Oracle. So we'll talk later today about that. No, you're going to launch us on Monday in New York City. We'll figure it out.
All right, I'll be there in New York City. But Steve, we got to do this. I mean, you got to get the word out. You guys have been not only have you nailed it, but you've already gamed it out for us exactly what they're going to do. And so, if everybody is aware of it and there's a game plan, because we all know what's going to happen now. These mail-in ballots.
I'll talk about it on Monday, but we've also war gamed it. We've war gamed this many times. Looked at all the perturbations. So
I know you have.
We're ahead of the left on this, and we're gonna destroy. Note to the left. Hope you listen. You're going to get destroyed. Okay. We're not going to give this country up. We're not going to back down 1 inch. We're going to rip your face off.
And we're going to be challenging every one of these ballots, right, for signatures and everything else. So we got enough lawyers to challenge it. Every single one. That's what we have to do because they're going to come in boxes and they're just going to show up in a UPS box. We went the same thing in Arizona where McSally had a lead, and then every day the lead went down, and then finally Simeon took over, and they certified it the next day. We've already seen how this plays out.
You already seen
Stephen
it.
K.
Okay,
Bannon,
sir.
thank you for being with us. I'll see you Monday in New York. John Fredericks Radio Network, trucking the truth across America.